Welcome to the Horrible Secrets channel, the place where you can find exciting things. Today, we delve into the dark, sinister side of Germany's history, bringing you 8 terrifying crimes that will haunt your nightmares. From unsolved murders to cannibalistic horrors, these stories are not for the faint-hearted. Viewer discretion is advised, as the images in this video are very realistic and of high quality. Germany, a land known for its rich culture and history, also harbors some of the most chilling crime stories ever recorded. These cases have left a permanent mark on the nation's psyche, filling the minds of many with dread and fear. Some of these crimes remain unsolved, adding an extra layer of mystery and terror. So, sit back, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for a journey into the macabre. As we explore these horrifying tales, remember that the truth can often be more terrifying than fiction. Without further ado, let's begin with our first story. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. Our first story takes us back to 1922, to a quiet, isolated farmstead in Bavaria, known as Hinterkaifeck. It was here that one of Germany's most gruesome and perplexing unsolved murders took place. The victims were the Gruber family and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. On March 31, 1922, they were brutally murdered with a mattock. The bodies were discovered days later, stacked in the barn, covered with hay. The killer stayed on the farm, eating food and tending to the livestock. Despite extensive investigations, the case remains unsolved. The Hinterkaifeck murders continue to haunt Germany, a chilling reminder of unsolved mysteries. Next, we move to the early 2000s and the disturbing case of Armin Meiwes, infamously known as the Cannibal of Rotenburg. Meiwes, a seemingly ordinary computer technician, harbored a dark and twisted desire to eat another human being. He found a willing victim online, Bernd Jürgen Brandes, who consented to be killed and eaten. On March 9, 2001, Meiwes and Brandes met at Meiwes' home in Rotenburg. What followed was a nightmarish scenario that defies belief. Meiwes videotaped the entire event, from the initial consensual mutilation to the eventual killing and consumption of Brandes. The footage, which was used as evidence in court, is so horrifying that it has never been publicly released. Meiwes was arrested in December 2002 after police were tipped off by a student who had found disturbing online posts about the incident. In 2004, he was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. However, in a 2006 retrial, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The Cannibal of Rotenburg case shocked the world and remains one of the most grotesque crimes in modern history. Our next tale of terror takes us to the 1920s, to the city of Düsseldorf, where a man named Peter Kürten, later dubbed the Vampire of Düsseldorf, committed a series of heinous crimes. Kürten was a serial killer, rapist and arsonist who terrorized the city between 1929 and 1930. His crimes were marked by extreme brutality and sadism. Kürten's reign of terror included the murder of at least 9 people and numerous assaults. He would often drink the blood of his victims, a detail that earned him his chilling nickname. Kürten's methods were varied, ranging from stabbing to bludgeoning, and his victims included men, women, and children. The randomness and savagery of his attacks created a climate of fear in Düsseldorf. Kürten was eventually captured in May 1930 after his wife turned him in to the police. During his trial, he showed no remorse and even described his crimes in gruesome detail, reveling in the horror he had caused. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. On July 2, 1931, Peter Kürten was executed by guillotine. His story remains one of the most horrifying chapters in Germany's criminal history. Chapter 4. The Masked Man. The Masked Man, also known as Martin Ney, is one of Germany's most notorious child molesters and murderers. Ney's crimes spanned over a decade, from the early 1990s to 2001, and his victims were young boys, aged between 8 and 13. Ney would break into children's homes and summer camps, wearing a mask to conceal his identity, and abduct his victims. Ney's modus operandi was chillingly methodical. He would meticulously plan his attacks, often studying the routines of his victims for weeks before striking. His crimes included the abduction, sexual assault, and murder of at least 3 boys, although it is believed that there may be more victims who have never been identified. Ney was finally apprehended in 2011, following a tip-off and subsequent DNA evidence linking him to the crimes. During his trial, Ney confessed to the murders and was sentenced to life imprisonment. The masked man's reign of terror left an indelible mark on Germany, a haunting reminder of the evil that can lurk behind a seemingly ordinary facade. Chapter 5. The Black Forest Killer. The Black Forest, known for its dense woods and fairy tale charm, also harbors a darker, more sinister reputation. Over the years, this picturesque region has been the backdrop for a series of unsolved murders that have left locals in fear. These cases, collectively known as the Black Forest Killer Murders, remain one of Germany's most enduring mysteries. The first known victim was found in 1984, a young woman whose body was discovered in a remote part of the forest. Over the next few years, several more bodies were found, all bearing similar signs of violence. The victims, both men and women, appeared to have been brutally murdered, their bodies left in secluded areas of the forest. Despite extensive investigations, the Black Forest Killer has never been caught. The lack of forensic evidence and the remote locations of the crime scenes have made it difficult for authorities to piece together the killer's identity. The unsolved nature of these crimes continues to haunt the Black Forest, a place where the line between myth and reality is disturbingly thin. Chapter 6. The Cologne School Massacre. The Cologne School Massacre is a tragic and terrifying event that shook Germany to its core. On June 11, 1964, Walter Seifert, a former soldier with a history of mental illness, entered a Catholic elementary school in Cologne armed with a homemade flamethrower and a lance. What followed was one of the deadliest school attacks in German history. Seifert attacked the school during recess, setting fire to classrooms and stabbing anyone who tried to escape. The chaos and horror of the scene were unimaginable. 8 children and 2 teachers were killed, and many more were injured. The attack lasted for about 20 minutes before Seifert fled the scene. He was later apprehended by the police, but took his own life by ingesting insecticide before he could be brought to trial. The Cologne School Massacre left a deep scar on the community and raised serious questions about mental health and security in schools. The memory of that day continues to haunt those who lived through it, a stark reminder of the senseless violence that can erupt without warning. Chapter 7. The Fritz Honka Murders. Fritz Honka, a seemingly unremarkable man, committed some of the most gruesome murders in Germany during the 1970s. Honka preyed on vulnerable women, often prostitutes, whom he would lure back to his apartment in Hamburg. Once there, he would brutally murder them and dismember their bodies. Honka's method of disposing of his victims was particularly horrifying. He would hide the dismembered body parts in the walls and ceilings of his apartment. The stench of decomposing bodies eventually led to his capture. In 1975, firefighters responding to a fire in Honka's building discovered the remains of several women hidden in his apartment. Honka was arrested and confessed to the murders, claiming that he killed his victims in drunken rages. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, although he was later declared insane and transferred to a psychiatric hospital. The Fritz Honka murders remain one of the most disturbing cases in German criminal history, a grim reminder of the horrors that can lurk behind closed doors. Chapter 8. The St. Pauli Ripper. Our final story takes us to the early 20th century, to the port city of Hamburg, where Fritz Hamann, also known as the St. Pauli Ripper, committed a series of gruesome murders. Hamann preyed on young men and boys, luring them to his apartment where he would kill them and dismember their bodies. Hamann's methods were shockingly brutal. He would bite his victims' throats, a detail that earned him the nickname the Vampire of Hanover. After killing his victims, Hamann would dismember their bodies and dispose of the remains in the river or sell the flesh as black market meat. The discovery of numerous dismembered bodies in the river led to his capture in 1924. During his trial, Hamann confessed to the murders of 24 young men, although it is believed that the actual number of victims could be higher. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. On April 15, 1925, Fritz Hamann was executed by guillotine. the St. Pauli Ripper's reign of terror remains one of the most horrifying chapters in Germany's criminal history. Conclusion and reflections. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through some of Germany's most terrifying crimes. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the Horrible Secrets channel to stay updated on our future posts. Your support helps us bring you more content that delves into the darkest corners of human history. We'd love to hear from you. What kind of videos would you like to see in the future? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. Whether it's more true crime stories, paranormal investigations, or historical horrors, your feedback is invaluable to us. Once again, thank you for watching. Remember to stay safe, keep your doors locked, and always be aware of the shadows. Until next time, this is Horrible Secrets, signing off.